This is the Invitation Manager Follow-Up Workshop. My name is Rob DeFazio. I am from the Membership and Unit Service team with the Mayflower Council. And this is part 2, the more advanced version of Invitation Manager Follow-Up. What we're going to do today is we're going to talk a little bit more about follow-up strategies and why they're important. But if you haven't already seen the original Invitation Manager training, I'd like to show you where to find it before we begin. So you're going to want to go to mayflowerbsa.org/membership. And when the screen comes up, it's going to look just like this. You're going to scroll down a little bit more to this area that says Unit Success Workshops and click the Invitation Manager training. This is the original training that talks about how Invitation Manager works, how to understand the menu and the screen, and how to use it as a tool to help recruit new scouts into your unit. This program works in conjunction with your beascout.org pin. So, for example, if you go to beascout.org, and this is what parents and prospective scouts will do to find a unit in their area. If we enter in the Milford and we're going to select Cub Scouts, they can look up and see what units are in their area, and they can do one of a couple of things. They can learn more, they can request more information, or they can apply online right on the spot. Leads for Invitation Manager come from when people click this button. So when they do, there's a menu here that they're going to follow, and they are going to insert the information about the prospective youth and themselves in an effort to learn more about your pack troop, ship, or crew, or post. So that's how that all works. And what happens is these leads end up in Invitation Manager. And that's why we're doing this tonight. We want to talk a little bit more about how to follow up effectively, because you can't just send an application and expect a result. And we're going to show you why in just a couple of minutes. More importantly, though, let's talk about why it's important to have a follow-up plan. First of all, it allows you to have consistent tracking of Invitation Manager leads over the 60-day cycle. The day a lead is arriving in Invitation Manager, it lives there for 60 days unless one of a couple of things happens. The first thing that could happen is they could apply online, and that becomes a completed lead. They can indicate that they're no longer interested, or as part of your follow-up plan, there may be circumstances that arise that you discover that they're not interested anymore, and you would close out that lead. The third thing that happens about every 10 days, and that's when leads are put into pending reassignment for review by us at the council so that we can determine if they're being followed up properly or not. And that's part of the basis as to why we're doing this particular seminar tonight. It's to help guide you in this process, because these leads cannot just be sitting there either. The purpose of these leads is to eventually have them join your respective unit. So during that 60 days, it allows us to be able to consistently track that, because every 10 days or so, it's being put in a pending reassignment, and we reassign it back to you unless you've given us information that would tell us that we have to assign it to a different unit. Maybe they're in 5th grade and they signed up for your pack, and they should have signed up for the Scouts BSA troop. Maybe you don't have a Lion Den in your Cub Scout pack, and we're going to assign it to a different Cub Scout pack in the area. There are a number of different circumstances that allow us to reassign it. We don't just reassign it to anyone, though, unless we've given you, as the unit that originally received it, the opportunity to be able to respond to it. Okay. The second reason why you should have a follow-up plan is to have something that is consistent, that you can carry over to people who are going to take this role on sometime down the road. Maybe you're a current new member coordinator has a son or a daughter who is crossing over into Scouts BSA and they're going to be going with them, that vacates that position. By having a written plan that your unit is going to follow, it can be easily transitioned over to the person who's going to be taking over. And the third thing that's really important, and it begins our discussion a little bit about why one and done doesn't work. Out of sight is out of mind. Let's be honest, we all get peppered with emails. And when we send that email that has the application link attached to it, it probably in some cases is among one of maybe 25 or 30 emails that prospective parent may get throughout the day. So it's very easy to understand that that might get lost. So by doing follow-up and attempting to reach out to a prospective Scout family, you're going to be able to ensure that you've at least responded to them and show them that you're interested in having them join your pack, because it is a two-way street. They're asking for information, but at the same time, where a Scout is friendly, by us showing them that we would love to include them as part of the pack 2 experience, for example, they might be more inclined to join because they feel welcome. And this is your opportunity to make that impression. And we started talking about one and done and why that's important. Let me show you this a little bit further. This is a follow-up graph. And on this graph, what's really important here is it shows, based on the number of attempts you make to a prospective contact that reaches out to your unit, the odds of them joining. And as you can see, the first one in blue is the first contact. And there is a 2% chance that a lead who reaches out to you is going to join based on your first response to them. That percentage goes up to 3% when you attempt to contact them a second time. It goes up to 5% on the third, 10% on the fourth, and after the fifth contact and beyond, those odds continue to go up as high as 80%. So why wouldn't you reach out to a prospective lead several different times to get them to join? You're going to have to do that because it's been proven that the one and dones generally are not hot to trot. They want more information. They want to know when you meet. They want to know who the leaders are. They want to know what the program's all about. They want to know about cost and the other things that come along with what those costs are going to be. And it's your job as the new member coordinator or the leader in charge of doing follow-up to answer those questions. And we're going to talk about how to make it so this doesn't take up as much of your time. Let's talk about some rules of follow-up here. The first one is, when you have a plan, contact them with a purpose. Don't contact them for the sake of contacting them. Although one of the points or two of the points in your follow-up plan, you're going to want to ask them if there are any other questions that they might have, or are they interested in completing an application? Okay, but contact them with a purpose. We'll talk about what those purposes are shortly. Be consistent, but not overbearing. My recommendation is every 7 to 10 days, at least once a week, you should be attempting to reach out to any lead that has requested more information about your unit so that you're keeping in touch with them and maybe answering a new question, or maybe you're inviting them to the upcoming Pinewood Derby, or whatever that's going to be. Remember one thing here. This is having a conversation. And that's really what talking to parents online is going to be. Some people might look at this as this is sales, and to a degree it is, but we don't want you to look at it that way. Have a conversation and try to make it so it is two-way dialogue. Another big thing that is really important is to remember to log your follow-up. Every time you reach out to a prospective lead, log it in Invitation Manager. This does a couple of things. The first thing it does is it avoids you from getting confused on what you have or have not done as part of the process. And secondly, if someone else steps in or someone else receives feedback from that family that they were told something, it's listed there what email you may or may not have sent. Okay. We're going to talk about the end goal and why that's important in a couple of minutes. But remember the end game. The end game here at the end of the day, what we in a perfect world would like to see happen is to have that family join your unit. At the same time, there are other things that could be an end goal that we're going to talk about in a couple of minutes. Some more rules to follow up here. When they write back and ask for something, give it to them. If they ask for more information about what night of the week the Bear Den meets, give it to them. If they ask what summer camp you're going to and what week you're going to and how much it's going to cost, give it to them. If they ask what the other expenses are outside of the fees that they're going to pay online through the application manager portal, give it to them. Give them the information they're requesting. But remember to give them just enough information to get started. You don't want to overwhelm them. So give them the information that they need to know so that they can begin their own decision-making process. Answer what they ask, but don't answer an unasked question. This is a biggie. Again, let's not overwhelm them with confusion and information. Give them the answers they need, but give them just enough information to get started. And if there's another question that they're going to have, they're going to bring it to you. So don't be shy about that either. And that's where you will resolve all of the other things you may want to tell them, but they didn't ask about. Be scout-like. In all of our interactions with prospective families and the community and other scouts, we want you to be scout-like. Remember that we want to be positive and we want to encourage all of the fun things that our program is, the leadership and the skills, and more importantly, the ability to make friends and have fun. That's what our program's all about. And the last thing, and this is a little tip here, we talked about the whole conversation thing on the other side. Continue the conversation by ending each email with a question. Ask a question at the end of your email in an effort to keep the conversation going. One more thing here, and this is really important. We talked about the end game. This is part of that end game, okay? No, it's not the answer we want to hear. It's not what we're trying to get when we do a follow-up plan, but there are going to be instances where you are going to receive, in one form or another, a no from a prospective family. It could be they're not interested at the moment. If whatever their no is, use that as an opportunity to ask why it's a no. In some cases, that no might not have anything to do with you or the unit. It could be their circumstances. But uncover at least what that no is and see if there's a way that you might be able to solve why that's a no and turn it into a yes. But don't be afraid of the word no, because if you're told a no and you've determined you can't change it, at that point, you can focus your energy and your effort somewhere else. And as part of this process, you're going to experience things like people not getting back to you and you continuing to reach out to them anyway. So it's going to allow you to focus on the leads that are still interested or have that perception. Once you receive a no, don't be afraid of it. Thank them very much for their interest and let them know, and this is a biggie, let them know if their circumstances change, the door is always open. Okay. So now we've talked all about the rules for follow-up, let's make a plan. Let's talk about getting to 5, okay? We talked about at 5 follow-ups, you've got an up to 80% chance that that particular prospective family is going to join. So let's get to 5 here. And I'm going to show you how. It's real easy. Within the first week of getting the email, thank them for their interest and give them the basics. Also, Ask if there is a specific question that they might have. They might have put it in the notes section, but feel free to ask if there's something specific that they'd like to know more about. If they're asking about, will there be girls in the den? Ask if there's a specific reason why, especially if it's their daughter. Okay. Invite them to an upcoming meeting. Second attempt to reach out. You want that to be an invitation somewhere. Invite them to an upcoming meeting. Maybe it's your Pinewood Derby or your Blue and Gold or your upcoming pack meeting, or better yet, it's the den meeting. Invite them to an upcoming meeting. Ask if you can expect them based on that invitation. So, Mrs. Jones, will you and Billy be joining us on February 5th? Okay. Now, this is on here, and this is a biggie. One of the things that gets overlooked in a follow-up plan is the ask. Ask for the application. Send them an application. Click the send application button in Invitation Manager. It will automatically generate an email with a link for them to fill out the application online. But feel free to follow up with that and ask them. I'm sending you an application in a separate email. Are you ready to enroll Billy in Pack 5? Okay. Send an email in addition to that. It might seem like 2 emails. It might seem a little much, but that automated email isn't as personal as the conversation you've already been having with the parent. Okay. So there's your number 3. Number 4, inquire about how they found out about your unit. Sometimes it's another scout. Sometimes it's social media. Sometimes they went and posted in their community forum, I'm looking for something for Billy to do once or twice a week. And somebody said, join Pack 5 at Cub Scouts, whatever that is. Ask about it. There's 2 reasons for this. First of all, it keeps the conversation going, right? But secondly, it allows you, if you've been doing social media, to know that that social media is working for you. And if it wasn't one of your social media posts and maybe it was something from the council, that's feedback we'd love to know about too. And number 5, remind them of any upcoming events that you've invited them to. If you invited them to the Pinewood Derby and that amount of time has gone by, and make sure they know about it. If in this process, maybe you got to number 4, and again, we're talking every 7 to 10 days. So you're talking about 28 to 40 days beyond the first week. Maybe there's another event coming up. Maybe there's another den meeting. Maybe there's a camp out coming up. Whatever that is, remind them of it. And if you haven't invited them to that at number 5, make that part of that particular contact. So as you can see, we got to 5 already, but you know what? We're not quite there yet because we are going to add another step and we're going to go to number 6. So we're going to make it 6 reasons to contact because we're going to put you over the edge a little bit. Send them another application. Yeah, you sent them one already, but send them another one and follow it up with an email with, I hope I've been able to answer all of your questions and that I've intrigued your interest in having Billy join Pack 5. I'm sending you another application under a separate cover. And again, that'll happen when you send the send application button. I hope you'll enroll Billy in Pack 5. You'll word this stuff your own way, but I'm just giving you some suggestions here. And I guess that does lead to something we'll talk about in a few minutes, and that is, can you use canned letters? And we'll talk about that in a minute. So let's say you've done all this and you haven't heard back from that prospect whatsoever. They haven't emailed, they haven't shown up, you've tried and tried and tried, and it hasn't happened. Chances are you're getting ghosted. Getting ghosted isn't a bad thing. Remember what we talked about earlier when we talked about no? You're kind of there. But you know what? We're not going to let them go. It's like fishing, okay? You get the big fish on the line and they're fighting back. We're not going to let them go without a little bit more effort. Change the tactic by asking them if they are still interested in joining your unit. Hi, Mrs. Jones. A few weeks ago, you expressed interest in enrolling Billy in Pack 5. Since that time, I've invited you to a couple of events and we haven't seen you. Are you still interested in Cub Scouting with Pack 5 for your son, Billy? That's the easiest follow up email you can send out. The subject line that works pretty well is I've been trying to reach you. Okay. Another way to work around if you feel like you're being ghosted, try a different method. If you've been emailing and there's a phone number there, try a phone call. If you are the new member coordinator, for example, and you decide that you're going to look into it, maybe it's a referral. I'm talking around for a minute, but I'm getting to a point here, folks. Let's say it's a referral. Let's say they were referred by another family and they're ghosting you. Bring in that other family to maybe reach out to them. Sometimes that can be the help. Sometimes they might give you perspective as to why you haven't heard from them. Number 3, be persistent, but don't be pushy. Remember, we're trying to get them to join our program. We don't want to start this off on a negative foot. So be persistent. Again, when we talk about 7 to 10 days and reaching out to prospective leads, absolutely keep that pattern going, even if you feel like you're being ghosted. If they ghost you after 30 days, let's say 30 days goes by, you've sent out probably 4 or 5 different emails or attempts to reach them, and they haven't gotten back to you. Send them a very simple thank you for your interest in our pack email. This begins the process of what we call taking it away. And sometimes when you take it away, they come running because they still want it. They just didn't realize that there was a time limit. Not that there's a time limit on joining, but when you take it away, you're giving it that perception of that there was a limited time. Okay. Not a big deal, but by thanking them for their interest, you're obviously being friendly and sincere, but more importantly, you're beginning to wind down this whole cycle. Mrs. Jones, thank you so much for your interest in Pack 5 for Billy. If you have any other questions, please feel free to reach out. Okay. If you get ghosted or that particular family informs you that they've lost interest, end the cycle, make it a closed lead, and take it out of the system. Okay. Now, when we go back to our 5 or 6 reasons to contact, you're talking about anywhere from probably 30 to 60 days in getting to those 6 attempts, which kind of fall in line with the lifespan of a lead. Some closing thoughts for success. The first thing, and this is really important, make this a process. Make this a plan. Put it on paper and make sure that everybody who's going to be involved with this process understands what's going to happen. It's going to make your life a lot easier. Secondly, as part of that plan, get to a minimum of 5 attempts to reach out to them. Remember, odds go up greatly once we get to that 5th attempt. Enter notes in the lead notes section of Invitation Manager with every communication. Again, it allows other people in your unit that may take over for you or be helping you to know what's going on. You want to save some time? Sit down and write pre-written, or what we call canned, emails that you can cut, paste, and tailor and send in about 2 minutes. It avoids you from having to actually write the emails each time from scratch. I said this before, but I'll say it again. If it's a referral, change the messenger. You can do a few things when it comes to communicating people. You can change the message. You can change the messenger, or you can totally undo both of those. If you've got an opportunity to, maybe you're working with another person from the pack who's going to help you, swap leads so that not all the leads are coming from you. All the emails for those leads, rather, are coming from you. Change that up a little bit. Feel free to change the messenger. And again, the last thing that is really important as part of this process, everybody, is the end game. Remember the end game. And as a reminder, the end game here, what we obviously are striving for, is a completed lead, meaning they've completed an application and they are now part of your unit. That, in a perfect world, is where we would like every lead that comes through this particular portal to end up. But it doesn't always end that way. Again, if you get any indication whatsoever that they've lost interest and they're not going to be joining, take it out of your system. There's no sense in continuing to work a no. So take it out of your system and close it and move on. And then obviously, as part of this as well, after 60 days, these leads are going to time out, which is why it's really important that you keep track of that information, maybe even keep that information, because it might come in handy for the next recruitment campaign that we're doing, for you to reach out to them again and try to get them in at a different time. But remembering that end game, and remember, no is an okay end game, but don't just go to no. Let's try to get them to completed and then figure that out from there. I hope this is helpful. If you need help developing a specific plan for your unit, or you would like help with writing some canned emails, feel free to reach out to me, robd@mayflowerbsa.org. I'll be happy to set up some time with you to put together a plan. And again, you can put together a plan. You're going to have to tweak it here and there, and I'm happy to help you with all of that as well. So thank you for attending this workshop, and have a great day.